Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Silly Pointers. And just, I'm going to say it straight away, the award-nominated Silly Pointers. That's right, Peter. It took me about 4 seconds to get it in, but come
Yeah,
on.
that's 4 seconds longer than I think. I think I would have just led with that. Nominated.
Yeah, yeah, just scream as soon as you press record.
Yeah, pretty much. Sorry,
But
everyone.
yes, yeah, we have been nominated. We've been nominated in the best cricket podcast category at the 2025 Sports Podcast Awards. I can barely even say I'm that excited. So the good thing is, you guys out there can vote for us. As everyone who knows me and Peter will probably realise that we have been unbearable since since the nomination, and we have plastered it everywhere on our social media. We'll have the links on our on Silly Pointers social media pages in the coming hours and days. The link's actually on there now on Twitter and Instagram. You have until the 13th of January to vote for us, and we find out if we've won on January the 30th. We might be up against Nasser Hussain and Michael Atherton, but no, they've won enough, so I think
and
it's our turn personally.
and Kate Cross and Alex Hartley as well.
Yeah, and that, yeah, and those, yeah, another very very good podcast. But it's brilliant to be nominated, and I know I probably speak for Peter as well by saying this, but it's been a brilliant sort of reward for what's been a really enjoyable podcast. I mean, we're just as if you watched us on YouTube, you've seen that we basically just record in our bedrooms or any other spaces where we can get a bit of quiet. And yeah, we've been nominated for a podcast, so we're both very excited. And yeah, we hope you guys can get a vote in and help us take down the behemoth of BBC and Sky.
Is this gonna be a bit like Rage Against the Machine getting Christmas number one, but
That
just in
that
in
is so
cricket in cricket
yeah,
podcast worlds?
that's such a good way of describing it. I really wish I could. That is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, we also have a podcast. We have a full range of topics to talk about now. No, we this isn't just going vote for us podcast. You're not gonna get a podcast. You have to vote for us.
That's it. Yeah, we're gonna stop right now, and if you don't vote for us, we're literally stopping right now.
Gonna go on strike.
Yes, until January 30th.
Oh yeah, of course, of course, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys. So since you were last with us, England have won another Test match in New Zealand, and they've done so pretty comfortably. I think it's probably fair to say, a lot more comfortably than the first Test, which took some doing because we weren't really challenged in that first Test, were we, Peter?
No, well, I remember us talking roughly this time last week. Would it have been the week before? And saying that New Zealand in the first test had dropped more catches than you could ever imagine, and they would hold on to their catches, which in fairness they did in the second test. They would hold on to their catches and make it a bit of a tighter game. Um, but you're right. I actually think this was more comfortable than the second test was more comfortable than the first test, and England were on top pretty much every single day. New Zealand had their moments. Blundell got a good 100 at the fourth innings, but I honestly can't think of a time where England looked like they were going to lose the game. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly the same, really. We didn't look phased. Yeah, we look very comfortable. I mean, it took some doing to look more comfortable than we did in that first Test. But I mean, the I just remember thinking, we batted first, and then we got I think it was about 280 in the first innings, and you're thinking, okay, that's it's probably under par. I think for this England team especially, you're kind of thinking they always try and get, I'd imagine they always try and aim for at least 300, kind of psychological, have 300 on the board. Got to 280, didn't really, no one really set the world alight. Um, and you kind of think, no, home conditions, New Zealand probably fancy themselves to come back into it. And, you know, after both teams have battered, we've got a lead of over 150 because we've just absolutely taken New Zealand apart, it was a big surprise. I know some of their batters have struggled with the bat in the first test, but this time round, it was just, yeah, I think for me, it was more, we sometimes kind of weigh up like, was a good bowling? Was it bad batting? But for me, I think it was more just good bowling. I mean, I think Atkinson and Cars both finished on 3 or 4 each. They both just looked right at home as sort of
Mm.
leaders with the ball. And we've said this before. We said this in the last episode that them two especially look like they're going to be able to carry us forward. And yeah, that second test just showed completely why we think that, because they were fantastic. But yeah, very professional all around performance, and yeah, just couldn't have asked for much more, I don't think.
No, well, I was listening to end of play sort of talk about England on 280, and saying that with the pitch conditions that actually that was a pretty good score. You're right that obviously everyone sort of thinks of like 300 as a bit of a benchmark sort of thing in Test cricket, but lots of people that know more about Test cricket than I do saying actually 280 is a good score on that pitch and how much the ball was moving about. And you're right. I mean, the only two really people that got any runs in that first innings were, let's be honest, number one batter in the world at the moment, just recently crowned, Harry Brook and Ollie Pope, giving headaches for the England selectors, batting down the order and getting runs again. And I think what was really good about both innings is that after England had fell a little bit apart, Crawley 17, Duckett 0, Bethel 16, Root 3. These two could have hunkered down and tried to stop the rot, but and I know we've actually talked about that quite a lot, especially in the India series. We spoke about how England have 3 or 4 fall, and rather than sort of be stubborn and not get out, they carry on batting. But actually, that worked here. Being aggressive, being front foot was the right call. And Harry Brook, with an incredible 123 strike rate of 106, Ollie Pope 66 with a strike rate of 84. They're going really on the attack and making sure that the New Zealand bowlers were out there for a little bit longer than they anticipated that they would be. Certainly when I think we were 43 for three. No, sorry, 43 for four. That's a
Mm.
lot. That's hard to say. 43 for four. Then going to 217 for five. Um, yeah, I think it shows that those two were really the difference makers. And you're right. Cass and Atkinson got 4 each in that. And we only used 4 bowlers actually. Bashir didn't bowl in the first innings, but it's a seamer's wicket, that really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you could kind of see from early on that, the spinners, you kind of think, the pitch might wear a bit, the spinners might get a bit more of a say sort of later in the game, but obviously as it turned out, yeah, it just wasn't the case. I mean, it was really a case of the quicks kind of, you could tell they were going to be able to get the most out of the pitch, and it kind of proved that way. And yeah, I mean, just going back to it, I was just surprised at sort of how little resistance New Zealand's put up really in that first innings. But I mean, all credit to the English bowlers, and obviously particularly Carson Atkinson. I think looking into the second innings, I think you've got to say Jacob Bethel, he'll be kicking himself. I think. I mean, he looked him and I think it was him and Duckett originally put on a really good partnership. Again, bad start, 9 for 1, and then Bethel comes in and joins Duckett, and then they put on, yeah, just shy of 200. And I think for all the for all the concerns people had about Bethel, everyone said, probably sort of legitimate concerns as well. You had a guy who no first class century and never batted above 4 in first class cricket. Yes, he's still waiting on that century, but I mean, how good has he looked at number 3 in these last 2 matches? He's looked, he's got the makings of a player who's got 50 caps under his belt, batting at 3. Like, he looks really confident, doesn't he, Peter? Batting in that position. And as we saw on the last episode, it's a number 3 and number 7 spots are going to be two very interesting positions going into 2025.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're both giving England headaches. Like I said about Pope earlier on, getting the 66, Duckett now getting almost a century. Um, we've got Jamie Smith coming back. We've got potentially Jordan Cox waiting in the wings. Ollie Robinson has flown out there, and who knows whether he'll. Well, actually, we might get the team announced whilst we're on air, which would be dreadfully exciting.
It would be.
Uh,
It would be. That's never happened before.
yeah,
It will
let's keep an eye out.
be.
But yeah, again, it's the same thing really. Is that you know that lose an early wicket, go on the front foot. Both of them scoring at a strike rate of over 80, Duckett and Bethel. And you're right, he looks so comfortable. I think what really impresses me about Bethel is his front foot play. He's a very good front foot player. He's not extravagant at all, but he's punchy and he seems to find the middle of his bat more than he doesn't, especially when he's playing on the drive. And I think what England have done so well in this test is that they were they took their chances. There weren't many drops, and every bad ball was punished. I think that if you score 427 for six, Harry Brook gets a 50 in there. Just a quick, quiet little 50 from Harry Brook again, and some more runs from Stokes.